Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of 161st and River. Yes, a pre-recorded episode. Don't do these too often, but felt with how slow the off season has been going that today would kind of be the perfect day to do it. Posted on, it'll be going up on Saturday night, December 20th, and we might have news during the pod. We might have, might not be Yankee news, it might be baseball news. I don't know. We might have no news. We might have, see. But the Yankee offseason has been slow, and that's something we can all agree on. I mean, it's been a horribly slow offseason. And why has that been? Well, it's been a slow offseason because nobody knows really what the Yankee plan is besides the Yankee brass. I mean, we could sit here and speculate till we're blue in the face what the Yankee plan is this offseason, but none of us really know. So we'll start with what we do know. Okay, we'll start with I didn't post it on socials yet. I'll get to it after this. I was busy this morning. Obviously, I'm going to preface by saying this during this episode right here. The week of Christmas is a very, very, very busy week for me. Um, my family hosts Christmas Eve every single year, and therefore, the week of Christmas is always a crazy one. So if for some reason news breaks and we're not immediately able to go live like right away, that's a reason why. But I'm gonna try my best because I always try my best for my subscribers. So the first thing I'm gonna pull up here is the thing that I think should be getting the most focal attention with the Yankees' lack of activity so far. Which, and Ken Rosenthal, what I was trying to mention before, Ken Rosenthal was mentioning earlier today in his piece about like the Orioles activity and like the rest of the American League East doing stuff except for like the Yankees and Red Sox. And he was like, well, the Yankees aren't done, they're lurking. So it's like, okay, well, what does lurking mean? Like, does lurking mean they're about to get something done? Like, I would love to know what the phrase lurking means in terms of the Yankees right now. Because I don't think any of us know, I certainly don't, exactly what the Yankees are looking to do. Now, we could be speculative here. I think we should all assume they're looking for a bullpen arm or two, which is where I'm going to start here. I don't really ever record on Zoom, and for some reason, like I shared my screen and now I can't see myself, which is pissing me off. Um, anyways, well, maybe I'll stop sharing my screen for a second. Okay, hold on. The Yankee bullpen needs to be the main focal point of the discussion right now. Because as of right now, the Yankees are in a spot where their bullpen is going to be a mess to start the year if they don't do anything. And I do expect that they will do something. I firmly believe they will. And if they don't, doing nothing is crazy, and that applies here. They have to do something to this bullpen because they're not going to be able to survive if they do nothing. What the hell is this? Now it's not even showing me. But the doing nothing is crazy is applies here because right now the Yankees have done nothing in that bullpen. And it should start to be concerning when you have guys coming off the market every other day. You have um you had guys come off the market last week. Obviously, Edwin Diaz came off. Then you had um other guys that I don't know if the Yankees had interest in them or not. But what I do know is that the Yankees should start to, I don't want to say panic, but they should definitely start to worry a bit that stuff needs to get done here, and they haven't really started to do anything. So their bullpen right now, and no one should really be confident in this bullpen as it sits right this second. You have Bednar closing, which that's fine. David Bednar getting the saves, that's cool because I think Bednar has got it. Bednar also um apparently Bednar, well, not apparently, he is. Bednar's joining Team USA for the World Baseball Classic, so good for Bednar. Good for the Yankees to have representation on both sides of the ball in Team USA. And Fernando Cruz is pitching for Team USA. Pitching for team. I forget what team he is, but he's also pitching in the WBC. Then we have Camilo Doval, who was great at the end of the year, but not when he first came over. So he's definitely a piece of concern, I think, for the Yanks. And I wouldn't throw all my chips in the basket for him. Cruz, I think he'll be fine. I mentioned Cruz is doing the World Baseball Classic. I forget what country. Tim Hill, but he's a lefty specialist. He cannot face righty batters ever. So if you have a predominantly right-handed lineup, he would just take Hill out of the equation from the get-go. Jake Bird, who was optioned within 2 games with the Yankees, he sucked. And then Cade Winquist, who they selected in the Rule 5 draft. And the Yankees believe that Cade Winquist can be the next Luke Weaver, in the words of Jack Curry from, I believe it was Monday night. And I can see it. I definitely watched some film back of Winquist, and I think there's a lot of potential with him. But the Yankees relying on Cade Winquist and Jake Bird. And I mean, really, the other four are fine because they're names. Like Tim Hill's a name. Fernando Cruz was great here last year, and he's a name if he's healthy. Camilo Duvall is a name. You know, he was one of the best closers in baseball before coming over. David Bednar, same thing. So I think it's hyperbolic and overblown that people are going crazy thinking that this is the worst bullpen on the planet. It's not a great bullpen, and they need to add to the bullpen now. I personally would add 2 relievers, both in middle relief, but can pitch high leverage, a righty and a lefty. And then I would add a starting pitcher because that way Ryan Yarborough would lose starting five and would slot in here to the lower leverage. I mean, to long leverage. So in a game that's, gotten away from either side, you could just have him come in and you don't have to use the guys. Now, they do have Yeri De Los Santos, Brent Hedrick, and Harrison Cohen waiting in the wings if they need them. Um, Yeri De Los Santos and Brent Hedrick were really good, I thought, for the Yankees last year, especially Hedrick, and he's a lefty. Harrison Cohen, we haven't seen at the major league level, but there's a lot of promise and potential there. I'm kind of shocked they didn't lose him in the Rule 5 draft, but that's good. Your starting rotation right now, this is what we're looking like. And everyone who's been saying, Michael K's been saying it on his show, pretty much like he's gotten a script from Hal this week of what he's saying on his show. I mean, that's what I felt. I've completely tuned him out half the time because everything he's saying is like probably what exactly Hal would want him to say, and it's kind of annoying. Um, Freed's gonna be in the rotation, Schlittler, Heel, Warren, and Yarborough. Now, the Yankees need to add a starter. They need to. Brian Cashman, and this is what gets everyone's like, they're just going to add a chief starter. Well, Brian Cashman said in his press conference at the winter meetings, I forget if it was on MLB Network or on Yes, and I'll tell you which one right now because I wrote it down in my notes. Because yes, I take notes of all these things, of all these press conferences, because normally they're important. With Hot Stove, I've been writing them out on my iPad. When he was on MLB Network, Yanks are having starting rotation conversations. He said that on MLB Network. Um, then he also mentioned, I have work to do on the bullpen. He talked about options and more likely external options than internal. Um, uh, let me see. Rotation overflow can go to the bullpen when healthy, meaning like Luis Heel will probably be in the bullpen at some point, which I think would be fantastic for the Yankees. I think Heel stuff plays, and I wrote about this the other day, and I'm in the process of writing a piece, but I haven't really finished it. I kind of started it this morning, but then, as I said at the beginning, I got busy. Um, and I was mentioning in that piece the other night that Luis Heel should be able to slot right into that bullpen. And with him being able to hone his command on an inning or two and not five or six, it might be better for the Yankees. I think that will work. Um, so someone else pointed this out on social media. Um, why haven't the Yankees spoken? You know, I'm gonna pull up the tweet actually because this person has a really, really good point. I don't know if you could see this or not. Let me check and see, make sure this is my screen is sharing. It's not. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to share the entire screen. I don't know why it's not sharing the entire screen. Okay, there we go. So this account had a great point last night when talking about Tatsuya and Mai. Now everyone's like, here we go. We got it here. Now everyone's like going nuts because everyone's like, well, the Yankees are the only team to mention a Mai. Now look, you asked me a month ago, I would have said he's a Yankee. I think I'm more I think I've pulled back a bit on that because I truly don't know what their plan is. And it seems like their plan is to trade for a starter and sign Cody Bellinger. Now, if Bellinger signed right now and it was with some other team, not the Yankees, probably the Mets because they love former Yankees, then I would think that the Yankees would be like, okay, maybe let's see about a Mai because now we're losing potential. Now, I think the Yankees should go out and trade for Freddie Peralta. They have the trade pieces to get the deal done. I think they should do it. I think the Yankees should also, if Edward Cabrera shakes free, that's who I would go for because he has more years of control than just one. That's what I would do if I were the. I would go for Edward Cabrera before I would go for Freddie Peralta just because of the control time. But that's me. But this account brings up a great point. Honest question: has any manager or GM from any other club besides the Yankees been asked about Amai? Now, someone asked um, Zach Manazian, who's the general manager of the San Francisco Giants, but Manazian kind of gave like a blanketed answer, and their financial situation right now is making it so that they might not be able to shop in that market. So we'll see. Um, from every indication and an account on X that I recommend everyone on here follows, I want to make it like abundantly clear that this is not my information. Oh, no, not that one. I mean, that's a funny account, but where's the account? Here, this account, Yankee Source. They're very good with all this stuff. Okay. Here, we'll focus on these two right here. Chicago is not a preferred destination for a my per NPB sources. There aren't many avenues. The MPP market seems to be experiencing a lull because of Boris. A my will have to go to a non-preferred destination if all the other big market teams are out. What's that mean? What's that tell you? Well, that tells me that I don't know why this is not showing up on the screen share yet. So I'll click over here. Maybe it'll show up. Um, that tells me that teams really are sick of dealing with Scott Boras, and that's a problem because the Yankees are a team that constantly has to deal with Boras and Boras things. And if Boras starts to lose guys and Boras starts to lose teams, it's bad for the sport because then, is it good for the sport to have guys like I'll give Michael King from the other night, and he's not a Boris client. He's an Excel client. So if we're gonna go with a Boris example, I guess we have to go with Bregman from last offseason, who got the short-term deal with high AAV, which, you know, every day Kyle Tucker's still on that market is another day that Kyle Tucker is looking, right down the barrel of getting one of those deals because I'm in the process of reporting it again. The market for him is not robust, right? The Yankees aren't really in on him. The Mets really aren't in on him. And Passan said this last night or yesterday on the K show. Like the Mets aren't really in. The Yankees are definitely not in, like really at all. They don't really love the player. I reported 3 weeks ago what I had heard about the Yankees' lack of interest and why there's a lack of interest. So you can go to lastwordonsports.com. Search up my article on Brian Cashman's introductory press conference, and it's right in there. And I spoke about, I'll give a little nugget. I spoke about the fact that teams, especially the Yankees, are concerned with the injury history and some other personal stuff with him. Not that he's a bad guy, like interest long term. Um, Joel Sherman said it in a I was trying to be nice the way I said it. And then it was literally compared to me like the source's name goes like Anthony Rendon. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. And then Joel Sherman says it the morning after I filed the column and put it out on socials, and Joel Sherman on the Pinstripe Pod, which I recommend everyone watch. It's a great podcast on every podcast platform. And he mentions this, and I'm like, no freaking way. Like I just and I so I reposted it on X. I'm like, this is what I was just talking about. Like I just mentioned this. They just mentioned this. Like here's your confirmation. Everyone's like, this is a Boris thing. Everyone's attacking Joel. Obviously, I'm not as known as Joel, which for this situation, thank God. And, you know, I'll tell you this. I don't know where Joel got his information from. I promise everyone who's listening, my information did not come from Scott Boras. I can say that with 100% certainty. Scott Boras had nothing to do with where I got my information from and with my reporting. I forget who's joking about it. Oh, um, yes, I do listen to podcasts from multiple teams around the game because I'm supposed to be, as objective as possible. Obviously, covering the Yankees and being a lifelong Yankee fan, there's a little tinge, but I do want to hear what other teams are doing around the league, and especially like I'm fascinated by the Alex Bregman stuff. So I was listening to the Section 10 podcast with Mass Live's Chris Cotillo, great person, awesome person, a mentor to me. I don't think I'd be as far in to this media landscape and writing and all this stuff without his support and help and taking his workshop, and I thank him for it. And his colleague over at Mass Live, uh, not Chris Smith, Sean McAdam, on with the Section 10 guys. And the beginning of the podcast, Carabas was giving an update on Bregman from what he's hearing, and I trust him. And they were jokingly saying, and it's such a real thing because this is how fans react. Oh, did you get your kickback check from Boris yet this week? Like People think that that's what it's about. Not everything that we release as writers and reporters is from Scott Boras because it's not what fans want to hear. Yankee fans don't want to hear why the Yankees aren't involved with Kyle Tucker. There are a couple reasons. One, they don't want to spend that money on Kyle Tucker. They don't want to put in the long-term commitment to a player that they don't know is going to have the passion for playing or has an injury history in 3 years. And the thing, oh, well, he played with a broken hand. That is true. That's true. Oh, and the Astros misdiagnosed this and that and the other. That's great. But this is what has gone around, words gone around clubhouses and front offices around the league. It's the same thing with Lindor. Obviously, Lindor's probably not getting traded this offseason. Well, there's some reasons for that. Number one, Mets don't want to really deconstruct the whole thing and like really put a target on their back. That's the first. And the second, and the reason no one's really looking at here, is word gone around clubhouses that he's kind of tough to deal with. And that's going to make teams less inclined to want to trade for him. I don't think he was ever really seriously going to be traded this offseason, like at all. But kind of like the Jazz thing, due diligence happens. You think Brian Cashman right now is calling every GM in baseball saying, hey Braves, hey Alex Anthopoulos, you want Josh Chisholm to play second base? Hey Andrew Neander, Tampa Bay Rays, they probably wouldn't do in division. Um, hey Perry, LA Angels, you want Josh Chisholm to play second base next year? That's not what Cashman's doing. He might be getting calls from guys, be like, hey Hoyer from the Cubs, we like Jazz Chisholm. Cool, what do you have to offer us? Nope, click. Because Jazz isn't going anywhere unless they're getting a franchise altering package, which they're not going to get for Jazz. He's not going anywhere. What was reported is correct, that they are listening in on offers for Jazz. That fact is factual. They're listening, yes. That doesn't mean they're doing anything, but that also doesn't mean they're making calls saying, "Do you want them?" Because that's not happening either. So there's a line of demarcation in the sand. So now this is what the Yankee lineup currently looks like. I'm gonna reshare the screen over to this in a second. The Yankee lineup isn't really a huge concern for me right now, but it's gonna become one. I think they desperately need Bellinger back in that lineup. I think what he did for this team on a day in and day out basis in that lineup. He was able to hit both lefties and righties. He was able to hit around Judge. And I think it's just so important to have him in the lineup every day that not having him in the lineup would really hurt the team. And that's why they're so aggressive in trying to bring him back. This is the reason they're being so aggressive in bringing him back. It's because, they want him back and they want to make sure that he's here and he's here long term and all that sort of stuff. And it can get done, but it hasn't yet. And the reason it hasn't is because Scott Boras has a ridiculous asking price for him. Absolutely ridiculous. And no team has met said asking price. And I really don't know. I'm bullish that any team will really meet the asking price. And once that asking price comes down and the Boras camp starts to get antsy, then you're going to see things get done. I also think that the Yankees have the best chance of getting him. I think they have the best chance of getting him because I firmly believe that he wants to be a Yankee and he wants to come back. Um, I firmly believe that he wants to be a Yankee. And I think there's a sentiment around that. Now, the whole narrative, and you see from accounts on social media, Like the most negative people come out with this crap. First of all, there was one free agent that's come off the market right now that it was like, okay, I kind of wanted you. And that was Brad Keller. That's really, I mean, obviously, Edwin Diaz would have been great, but that was fully unrealistic. I think if the Yankees had to pivot, I think Bo Bichette would be an excellent fit. And don't forget, Jazz Chisholm can play the outfield. Not great at it, but he has experience playing center field. And you could probably move Grisham to left. I feel like he, actually, let's check on this. Did Grisham play left field last year? Let's check on this if it lets me. Uh, I don't know if this is sharing or not. If it's not, then it's fine. Um, I feel like he did play left field for at least like a game or two last year. Like uh I can almost bet he did. I mean, having Trent Grisham back isn't the worst thing in the world, but the Yankees need to make sure that they don't just give him infinite runway if he's not good. That I think is the sentiment concern of him. Fielding. Okay, he only played center field last year. He played left field for 97. He played left field in 2019 for the Brewers. Uh, he was a good defender there. His numbers look good. Yeah, his numbers look really, really good in the outfield when he played left field. But that was also a ton of years ago. So I don't know if that's something the Yankees would look into. I also think if they were to get Bo Bichette, then they would be for sure moving on from Jazz after next year, which I think is a real possibility of happening. Like I think this is it for Jazz in the Bronx. Every indication everyone's gotten is that the Yankees aren't like really sold on having him here for long term. And the Yankees need to find a catcher, another right-handed hitter for the bench, so they can send down. Well, Jones is probably getting traded. Then Vivas would go to AAA because then one would be a right-hand hitting catcher. Like who interests me a lot that is still on the market. What was his name? He was a Red Sox and a Twin. Oh, no, not Andrew. Vasquez. Uh, you'll remember him if you see him. He really. It might be Andrew Vasquez. I don't know if Andrew's his name. I might be getting him. Oh, Christian Vasquez. That's his name, Christian Vasquez. He's really good behind the plate and would be a good, and he's a good righty hitter against lefties. That would be a good option. Don't know how much he'll cost, but that would be a good option. You could always acquire someone to trade, but Cabrera's locked into a bench spot. Jones is probably going to get traded if they sign Cody Bellinger because they think Jason Dominguez has more long-term stake on this team. And then you have the rotation, which when healthy is going to be one of the best in baseball, but it's not going to be healthy to start the season. And the Yankees really need to make sure that they're cautioning against that. I'm going to end it there. So thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll be live if there are any updates, um, like live updates, but so far, nothing. So have a great day, go Yankees, and we'll be back during the week.